this On 34th and now this INC charter club, they just need to take care of their person, just like Dillard's is taking care of their person, and let it ride. And again,
even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never ran, said no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Hello, my darlings, and welcome to this week's fashion chat. I am so excited to be doing this series for you guys. You guys know how much it is, or how much it means to me to be able to share this side of I don't want to say this side of my life, but yeah, this side of who I am as a former retailing and merchandising professor. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and I enjoy that you guys enjoy it, and I love the interaction and the commentary and the academic and intellectual conversations that we're able to have even through your comments. I love that. I love to have engaging conversations around fashion in the industry and retail. So I thank you for that. And if you have been enjoying this content, go ahead and like this video. It lets me know that you want more and there's more to give, because as I was preparing this video that is going to be about the Macy's store closures, I had all these ideas. Like, I really want to do a video on a comparison video on Dillard's versus Macy's. Excuse me. And you guys know I'm definitely going to be doing commentary or giving you my thoughts on Pharrell's show. Anyway, let's get into it. So this week's video, as I mentioned, is going to be on, it was not inspired, but yeah, I guess it would be inspired by an article by Retail Dive. RetailDive.com is the site that I go to, excuse me, as well as CNBC. Which one do I go to? I always want to say MSNBC. That was like Daddy's favorite channel. But okay, Retail Dive. Retail Dive is the one that I get most of my retail news. And I pulled up this article, Built for a Different Era, Macy's CEO, excuse me, on why closing 150 stores is critical to its survival. And then I have another article that that we're gonna kind of mix with this, is how Macy's set out to conquer the department store business and lost. So this is gonna be, it's gonna be juicy. I'm gonna try not to bring you guys, or not to take too much of your time, because again, from this article and what I was reading, I really want to start doing some comparisons, some store comparisons, because I do believe that Dillard's in particular is doing something right, and we'll talk about that. So let's get into the article. So let's see. It says the 150 Macy's stores slated for closure in the next 3 years make up 25% of the banner's store square footage, but represent less than 10% of the sales. So these are low performing stores, probably in low performing malls, that they are going to close so that they can take that money and then invest into the doors that they feel are doing really well, right? So it says Macy's Inc. has 718 stores across its portfolio, which in addition to its namesake banner includes Bloomingdale's and Bluemercury. So Bloomingdale's we're familiar with. It's like, like the sexy, sassy sister. That's what I think of when I think of Bloomingdale's. And then Bluemercury is kind of like the Sephora arm of Macy's Inc. The breakdown at that time was 502 Macy's. It just started raining, guys, so if you hear the rain. 502 Macy's, 57 Bloomingdale's, and 159 Bluemercury locations. Now, I know that Bluemercury has standalone stores, but where are these 159 stores? I know we have a Bluemercury Las Olas. I may have to take you guys there so that we can check it out. The CEO says, of course, we're very sensitive to the impact a Macy's closure has on our colleagues, our customers, our vendors, and the local community. And so whenever you think about a store closure, and it's so, not that you can ever compare closing a store and closing a school. Of course, you guys know that I have my master's in cultural and educational policy studies that I received in Chicago. And so when I think about schools and how much that mean to a community, you know, your local mall closing, your local favorite store closing can be just as devastating, because especially, and I say this growing up in South Florida, where a lot of the malls that I used to go to Broward Mall. If you guys are in South Florida, Broward Mall is where we used to kick it. Coral Square Mall, 163rd Street Mall. Like when you drive past in those stores, those malls are like closed up. Even when you go to Boca Town Center, there used to be a huge Sears there, and it's closed. It does something to you. It's kind of like, it doesn't feel good. You just, you have that, oh, I remember when. And so again, no comparison to closing a school, which is devastating to a community. Just the sense of loss that you may have when a store that you grew up with has closed. Okay, so I just want to clarify that. All right. And so the question is, and what they're saying is one of the worst feelings. What he says is one of the worst feelings is walking into a store or shopping online and not being able to get the size and color you're looking for. And so what he's wanting to do is do away with those stores so that they can put money into online, because they're online. Listen, Macy's online and Target online are the two ones that I just cannot deal with. I really can't. So they're going to take that money and put it into stores. Put it into stores. That's my baby, my little pit bull. Put it into stores. Hold on one second. Let's find out why he's barking the way he's barking. He has beef with FedEx. He only reacts to FedEx. UPS, come on by. FedEx, he barks. All right, so let's get back into this. So the department store's bold new chapter turnaround, which is what they're calling the turnaround, will rely heavily on supply chain changes that should deliver $100 million in cost savings. They include closing down distribution centers, increasing automation and other strategies to improve, number one, inventory, number two, productivity, and number three, sales. So that's article number one. And so now the question is, let's go to the other one. Let's go to the other article. Riley's so proficient in this. I'm like, how do you, okay, close this one, close that one. Let's go to the other article. Here we go. All right. So let's go to the article, How Macy Set Out to Conquer the Department Store Business and Lost. So for a little backstory, just from my point of view, and I mentioned this when I was in Atlanta, I was a part of the Macy's executive training program way back when. And when I graduated, I didn't say way back when, but when I graduated from college, I had 5 offers. And my goal was to be a buyer. Okay, so I went into the buyer training program, and I received offers specifically as it relates to this: Macy's New York, Rich's Lazarus Goldsmiths in Atlanta, and Burdines in South Florida. I did my internship with Office Depot because I wanted to be closer to home. And so my goal was either to stay at Office Depot, which is located in West Palm Beach. I don't know if it's still located there, the buying office, or head down to Miami and work at Burdines, at the buying office in Burdines. After having long conversations with my parents, to like, go off, do you, like, don't worry about us. Because, I'm my father's only child. We've talked about this, and I'm the baby, my mother's last child. And I was like, I can't leave you guys. And my parents were like, no, go. So I didn't want to go to New York because they weren't offering no money. And at least for New York standards, I'm like, I can't live in New York on that. And I was dating somebody too, and I was like, I can't leave at Birmingham. Whatever. Wait, where is he now? And so I chose Rich's Lazarus Goldsmiths in Atlanta. And so why am I telling you this? Because one of the points of the article is the magic of Macy's everywhere. And so one of the things that Macy's did when they were purchased by Federated Department Stores is change all of their stores' names to Macy's. And so what they did was, when this happened, because by the time I left, when I left, they were still Rich's Lazarus Goldsmiths. And by the time I moved to Chicago, because I stayed in Atlanta 2001 to 2005. By the time I moved to Chicago, they had become Macy's South, were they Macy's South? And then I think a couple years after that, they closed down the Macy's South and just moved all operations to New York. And so again, jobs were lost. And I think people were shuffled to either Macy's buying office or Bloomingdale's buying office. I think that's how it went. But that being said, I feel like one of the things that Macy's did wrong from the very jump was go into these different markets and just wipe away the history of the brands that were there, right? And so, as I said, Macy's, look at me, I'm getting choked up. Burdines, and I think they call themselves the South Florida store, right? You guys who are from South Florida, what do they? I feel like they called Burdines the South Florida store, something like that. Burdines was Burdines. I remember moving to this country in 1988 and having my first experience with Burdines. And I remember it just being white and them having indoor palm trees, and all the women were gorgeous. It's like flying off Air Jamaica. Remember back in the day, Air Jamaica, how everybody wanted to be, at least little Caribbean girls, all of us wanted to be Air Jamaica stewardesses because they were like the elite. That's how I felt about all the women that worked at Burdines, right? It smelled amazing. I remember the perfume counters. It was just a glamorous experience, right? And some of you who lived in Atlanta, I remember talking about the Big Pig outside of the Rich's Lenox store. Those of you who have Marshall Fields in the Midwest, and even I think the Marshall Fields on State Street still has like Marshall Fields on it. It doesn't say Macy's like on the clock. And I think that when they moved into these areas, and it was no longer Marshall Fields, and it was no longer Burdines, and it was no longer Rich's, Lazarus, Goldsmiths, and whatever may have been on the West Coast and other parts. You took away, just like when you close a store, it's almost like they closed that store and turned it into something else. But we identify with Burdines. We never identified with Macy's. Macy's is a New York store. Like, okay, if we want to go to Macy's, we go to New York. But Burdines is our store. The assortment didn't change, I don't believe. Just the name changed. But that alone was enough to turn people off. And I remember being in Chicago, and I feel like it was still Marshall Fields when I moved to Chicago. I have to really sit and think about that. But Marshall Fields is Marshall Fields. And I feel like the older people in the Midwest are, no, it's Marshall Fields, it's not Macy's. And so it talks about that. And how when they took away this is the second article, when they didn't close the stores, but when they changed the name, they changed the feel of the store, and they did lose market share because nobody knows about a Macy's. Again, nobody knew about a Macy's in South Florida. And so the second part is Amazon. Well, another reason that Macy's is having its challenges is Amazon. So this part of the article says, as Amazon rises, so falls Macy's. And it speaks specifically to the e-commerce presence and the availability of items, and Amazon's appearance as a top 10 retailer, and the rise of e-commerce in general. And they said they were more confident, this company, Cohen & Co. analysts said that they were more confident that Amazon would soon overtake Macy's in apparel sales. The department store had announced it would close 150. Yeah, we did all that. In 2018, analysts from another research organization documented evidence of Amazon, again, being one of the reasons that they were losing footing in the retail space. So yeah, what do you guys think? For those of you who shop on Amazon religiously in terms of apparel, I buy some pieces from the drop. But to me, I don't get my apparel or my shoes from Amazon. Like, that's not my major place. They're not in my wardrobe. Macy's is not competing with Amazon. And so there's another part here that I want to get to, because I feel like this is the main one, especially for my closet. And again, this is a really, really long article, and it talks about closing suburban stores and the move to cities. So the change, the assortments, and they're talking about differences with Best Buy, Williams and Sonoma, Kay Jewelers. Ooh, they've taken a market share away from Macy's. Do you remember? Maybe you don't, because I'm a Sephora girl. What Sephora did to department stores in general? Because remember, I talked about Burdines, right? And going in and going to the perfume counter and going to the makeup counter. Do you remember? You can just go up and just touch stuff. That's recent. That's 1999 was Sephora opened, and you could go in and you didn't necessarily have to speak to anybody, and you can test out makeup. There was none of that back in the day. Absolutely none of that. So Sephora has taken their market share. Best Buy, again, Williams-Sonoma. There were just other places to go and purchase things that were once synonymous with going into a Macy's, right? All right, so let me go down here because it talked about off-price retailers. Where is it? I should have highlighted this. I'm going to talk about it. So off-price retailers, your TJ Maxx, your Ross, your Marshalls, even your Saks Off Fifth, even your Neiman Marcus Last Call. And I've been asking this question every time I go to these stores because there is no, I knew the word, non-compete? Did I write it down? I want to say non-compete. When I was in the buying office back in the day, and I was an assistant buyer, and our buyers would always have conversations. Of course, vendors could not tell us what this store has, what this store has, what this store is, or the store buy of other stores. But our buyers were very clear that we do not want to sell the same items that our competitors are selling. At Perimeter Mall, you guys live in Atlanta, Perimeter Mall is right across from the Rich's Lazarus buying office. And Nordstrom is known for shoes. I was assistant buyer in women's shoes. And because Nordstrom is known for shoes, we had a Nordstrom and a Macy's in that mall. We would go over, we'd be like, this Nordstrom better not have what Macy's, or what Rich's at that time, I'm going to say Rich's, okay? What Rich's has. The shoe floor could not be similar. I don't know what has happened with the store buy in the buying office to where I can go to Macy's and see a bag and see that same bag in a TJ Maxx, a Marshalls, a Ross. I don't quite understand why there's a non-compete and why there are not Macy's exclusives. I will say that cutout bag, no, because I saw that cutout bag at Dillard's, the Michael Kors cutout bag. Why I'm able to see Karl Lagerfeld pieces at Macy's, but also at TJ Maxx, I don't understand, because to my knowledge, and if any of you guys are in the buying office, please let me know. I don't quite understand that, because there should be, from the vendor point of view, there should be items that you can only find at Macy's. And so that is hurting Macy's, because you know, if you have a Macy's card and put it this way, if you have an incentive to shop Macy's, you're going to shop Macy's. There's no doubt about that. There are women that, again, you know, my favorite Macy's, and we're going to talk about that too. Let's put a pin in that. You guys know that one of my favorite Macy's is Boca Town Center. And there are women that are not, they're just going to get their stuff from Macy's Boca Town Center, right? That's it. But if you have choice and you're budget conscious, you're going to go, I think, to an off-price retailer. And that's an issue. That's a huge issue for smaller doors. Larger doors, not so much, right? But the smaller doors, if you're cat-a-corner to a TJ Maxx across the street or a Marshall's around the way, which one are you going to go to if you want that item, right? If you're buying a dress to go to your child's wedding, if you're buying a dress for graduation, if you're buying a dress for whatever situation, where are you going to go? Are you going to go to an off-price retailer, or are you going to go to Macy's? Especially if they have the same thing and the off-price retailer is less expensive. So that's one thing. And I have this whole list because, again, I think this is going to be like a two-part video where I do comparison. One of the things I want to talk about too is private label, because Macy's has, I'm going to touch on it and we'll go into it with more depth. Macy's has, let me put this down, private label. You guys add, if you guys know any more, add, let me know in the comment section. INC, International Concepts, on the 34th, and now this, my favorite, Nina Parker. And there's some other ones that may be in home that I'm not familiar with. I don't quite understand the vision of having all of these private label, right? When we went to the shoe store, the shoe floor at Dillard's, Gianni Bini, baby, has a very clear point of view. And I said this in the short, they are designing for a very specific person. They're designing for their person and nobody else. And I feel like because Macy's is trying to take care of everybody and serve everybody, that they've just watered down the brand. Next up, Macy's Backstage. Absolutely not. They tried it. I need them to just let it go. I would prefer that they just close all the Macy's Backstage, because I feel like in Brooklyn they actually have like a freestanding store, but in Aventura we have Macy's Backstage, and I have no idea why they have it. It makes absolutely no sense at all. To me, it would make more sense to take all of that last act inventory and put it up on the 3rd floor. And I feel like that's what it used to be. I don't understand what happened. And I feel like, and I take this to heart because Macy's raised me. I feel like they're just doing stuff that just doesn't make sense to the consumer. Because you as the consumer, if you saw a Macy's Backstage, right? What's the difference between a Macy's Backstage and a Macy's Last Act? A lot of times I use them interchangeably. I feel like the person who's going to buy Macy's Last Act, she's not necessarily what's she going up to the 3rd floor for when she can get a last act item like I did for $5 or $10. So I don't know. I feel like closing these doors will work in larger cities, can work in larger cities like South Florida, like a Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, because again, because do I go? Macy's is still open, Broward Mall, Coral Square Mall, but I don't even go to those stores. I go to the big ones. And so what they're saying is, because because Dion's already going to Aventura or Boca Town Center, we just need to close Broward in Coral Square. But what does that do to the community? Because Coral Springs still needs their Macy's, and so does Broward. So I don't know. It's a big undertaking, and that's why I love to study big brands like this and big stores, big retailers, because it says a lot about business in general. And how do we take care? Not how do we take care? How do I want to say this? Macy's has to decide who they're going to take care of, who they're going to serve. Macy's Backstage, I feel like needs to go. I feel like they need to go 100% on one or two private label brands and run with that. This On 34th and now this INC Charter Club, they just need to take care of their person, just like Dillard's is taking care of their person, and let it ride. And again, this is going to be a second part to the video, because I feel like I really want to do like a comparison between Dillard's and Macy's. This was like an intro, so please let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this video. I hope this video made sense to you. It's still rolling around in my head. I would honestly be doing a case study in the classroom, and this would probably like take all of the semester, just to figure out what 3 things we feel Macy's needs to do, and really plot those out and see if it's something that they can actually do. That's what I would do if I were in the class. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, take a gander at it. Think about 3 things that you think that they would do or that they could do, and then do some comparison shopping and find a store that you think is doing it right. And I think for me, I feel like Dillard's is doing it right. I need to really like sit and play with it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for entertaining me in this video. And again, if you enjoyed this content, go ahead and give a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this content again and you like what we're doing here on this channel, I'm doing here on this channel, go ahead and subscribe. I have plenty more of things in my head that I want to talk about. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.
Go, 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 go.